to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Dying Light is finally playable at 720p, with everything disabled. We finally get a racer with outdated graphics, bad controls, and shy performance. Nope, they haven't ported Carmageddon yet. Swervin' Mervin is ready for your brain meats, and it's time, finally, to declare martial law on people who dump Unity assets into a sandbox and call it a game.
Zuckerberg gets his ass to Mars because Oculus is about to face some Total Recall. Cave Painting Simulator promises gameplay with the clarity of ancient cave paintings, so it has an excuse to look like someone smeared shit on a wall. And Stallman throws his beard at the dolphin. The popular Wii emulator is relicensed as GPL3.
Anime-style visual novels are par for the course on Steam, but I don't think I've ever quite seen one like this one before. A 30-minute movie gets a $2 game, and it's not horrible either. AMD wants your opinion. Be careful, though. They might block you on Twitter afterwards.
I'm Vince Stone here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, doing this nightmare fuel, this train wreck, all on Linux. Over here in Canada land. That's a blurry Jordan Huang, he's actually always just a little out of focus. He's like Bigfoot. And from Space Portugal, who is in focus.
Drinking vodka.
Water, yeah, definitely not Vodak. And together with Shad Realm Dynamic, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, let's see what's going on in each other's life organs. I heard you were planning a party.
Yeah, no, not an actual party. I was helping with Nori's company's birthday. So they usually throw a big weekend-long event every year. But perhaps most important than that, I got two Samsung 850 EVO 250 gig SSDs, and I'm now running them on RAID 0, and I've moved every single game that's currently installed on my PC to them.
And then it died!
No, actually, the game I noticed the most improvement on was actually The Elder Scrolls Online running through Wine. You may have seen my LGC how-to on it. I'm really sorry about the audio quality on that one. But the loading screens went from like 30 seconds to 8. So that was pretty awesome.
All right. What's up, J-Baby?
Oh, no, I've just been working all week.
Just work all week.
As Ven knows, we were up until about, 3 in the morning last night,
roughly, with
Free Jack trying to hammer out this Rainbow Bridge streaming video thing that you're watching right now under Linux. And about 2 hours after we finished that, I woke up and went back to doing my day job. Woohoo!
Sounds like fun. Actually, I don't have anything interesting to really report at all. I mean, I kind of chipped the rim on Turbojet being stupid in an empty parking lot, but I'm an adult, so that
donuts
can happen. Anyway, what's the horse up to this week?
The horse is really, really not pleased with your tone, Ven, and it's going to ask you to step down from LinuxGameCast, because it's our Steelers update of the week. That's right, man. It's special snowflake time.
Oh, great.
This one again.
Yes. This is like a long-suffering spouse. You don't know about it. It's Dying Light. It's parkour with zombies. And let's see what this thing clocks in at. Still, they want 59.99 wet, stinky caches. But you're thinking, Vin, didn't you give up on this game? And I'm thinking, man, I just wish I knew how to quit this thing. But every time it comes out, and I saw OpenGL performance. So I chanced another 10 gigajoule download, and I'm like, all right, is there any performance? Lo and behold, it is genuinely playable at 720p. If you nope everything, you can almost smell 60 frames a second. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, it's what I've been waiting for this
on the 4K. That's like the size of a thumbnail, right?
It's glorious, 720p at 4K. I mean, it's brilliant. I'm ecstatic. I'm happy with it. P-Man's definitely going to buy it now.
Oh yeah, I'm going to buy it as soon as it gets like 75% off, because according to what I've read on their Steam forums, it's not that good, because like Ven mentioned, you have to lower the resolution to 720p, and you have to disable just about every single post-processing effect. So, yeah, no, not yet.
No. All right. Gonads and strife.
Gonads in the lightning, in the lightning,
No
in
more
the rain.
early access. And they actually pushed this out, quote unquote, gold. And I hear, Ven, that you can actually finish the tutorial now.
No, this is one of the brilliant things. I took the Pepsi challenge with this nightmare of a game which has been out forever. If you didn't know about it, actually, this company has always been good with doing Linux ports.
Yes.
You know, Savage. And yeah, up until this went live, I was like, you must play the tutorial in order to play the game. I was like, oh, what? And I was like, but you will. And I was like, fine. You click it, it just spite nopes. Of course, you're going to launch Steam up, you know, command line, see what it does, see what type of errors you get. Nothing. Just core dump. Deal with it, Brad. B-Man, have you played it? I don't care about it.
Again, I only played through the tutorial. We mentioned this last time. There was a big update. I can't remember when it was, but we mentioned it previously on the show.
3 or 4
and
episodes ago, I think.
there was a big update, and I tried to play through the tutorial, and it crashed halfway through. Now I could actually finish the tutorial, but that was literally all I played of it, because when it comes to MOBAs, I am very picky. They need to do something really different, like, say, RoboCraft, when you get to build your own character, so to speak, and you get to play it. This is just Dota 2 all over again. Just play Dota 2 instead.
All right. J-Man, any thoughts?
Not really. I mean, if they fix the tutorial thing, that's good. I have minimal interest in MOBA. I played my share of LoL back in the day, and I'm done with it.
We should say it's priced to sell. It's free, so...
Yeah,
it is free to play. They do have some options you can purchase, like collectibles and
booster packs,
skins
pack,
and shit like
everything.
that. I mean, you can get the collector's edition for $50, and you know everyone's chomping at the bit to buy that.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I see what you did there.
You know, this
yeah.
game was actually released last week, but I didn't hear about it till, this week. So, this is love at first sight. Your protagonist in the game
Rule
falls in
34,
love
man.
with a Cyclops.
All right.
Hey man, someone
very
finally
tattered-
made a video game based off of Pedro's Futurama fanfic. It's great.
Hey, again, private. We were talking about this during the pre-show, but yeah, your protagonist kind of
There's no
falls
such
in
thing as
love
privacy on
with a
LinuxGameCast, Pedro.
cyclopean girl wearing a beat-up Japanese school uniform, and
Sachi?
when you actually realize that Second Life has released airships as a playable race, I don't think a Cyclops is that far-fetched. So yeah, if you like visual
completely
novels,
unrelated.
Okay.
Yeah,
Did you see that there was a game on Steam where you play as a Japanese schoolgirl and the point of the game is to cause all the other Japanese schoolgirls to commit suicide?
Oh, you pushed them over buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I did see this, but I also saw their operating system requirements, which that's a stretch, man.
No, what's that operating system written exclusively in assembly? What was that called again?
Oh, I forget the name of it. Right.
Menuet OS.
Yeah, you need that to run this.
So what is this? This is like text-based adventure?
Yes,
it's a
this
visual
is
novel,
literally
so
a
there's no
visual novel.
gameplay per se. You just sort of go through the story, and that's it.
Yep.
$9.99. Check it out. It's got a very positive. Maybe one day.
If you like visual novels, that is.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a certain type of people who like visual novels. I'm not one of them,
Nope.
but if it's your thing, check it out. Up next, there's another sucker born every minute, Lord. This is
A
Crash
driving
Drive.
game where Jordan gets to talk to us about it.
Yes, that game where I do get to talk. It's basically Super Tux Kart as done in Unity, as Pedro said in the show notes. I mean, this is unabashedly Unity game. There's so much stock assets. That big green texture grass, the sand, the stones. Someone decided I'm too cheap to actually pay for a graphics designer to create good 3D models, and I just bought a bunch of school buses off the Unity store. They have tank battles. They have a couple of different game modes. But honestly, I don't see it being worth the $5 price tag, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
Well, over here,
If you actually-
it's $3.99, and you get a free gift copy. You can actually inflict pain on someone you dislike if you just buy one copy. Hi, Free Jack.
That
I
is
was looking
stunning.
at the second screenshot that they have on their store page, and I'm like, those cars don't exactly match up with one another in terms of size. So it leads me to believe, like Jordan implied, that they bought those assets from the Unity store.
Well, I like
Yeah.
that the chopped rat rod here is the same size, actually larger than the tank.
Yep.
If you're thinking about picking this up, I actually bought a copy because it's like, it's racing.
yeah?
I got to try it. I absolutely got to try it.
All right. Well,
Oh boy,
what's the verdict?
there's no options whatsoever in it, and you think, well, I had multiplayer. I was like, well, that's brilliant. That's all you do. You hit play, and it just drops you into a random multiplayer. I mean, you do have a choice of EU and North American servers, which are equally just about all empty. I have no idea what you're doing,
it's,
and
Secret of the Magic Crystal style multiplayer.
it's pretty fucking terrible. But yeah, that's a thing.
And they claim full controller support. Chances are, it's not going to.
It does, but it's the Unity spray and pray.
The configuration screen o' doom.
They don't even give you that option. You just
wow.
effed, man. I mean,
Oh wow.
you find your brake and acceleration in strange places like you normally do with people who go click
It's like
export.
Acceleration
Yeah.
is start. Brake is L4 or L3.
Okay.
But yes, let's get into some Audio Surf 2, which is now available for Linux. It is a game in which you can use your own tracks, or if, say, you have a game installed which has a soundtrack included, you can play that game's soundtrack.
Jeez.
And
12.7
it's-
$14.99.
yeah, the price
That's
on
about
that.
the
What
first
the
one
fuck?
cost when it came out. Actually, because I remember buying that when it came out. Because I thought it was a really cool idea, like a puzzly racing game based on
But-
the various obscure music you throw at it.
The first game was pretty much free for everyone who bought the orange box. And
I don't think it was.
if you-
it was,
it was free. If you got the orange box, you got Audio Surf free. And
I don't remember that when I bought the orange box, but whatever.
it was on sale
Space
for
Portugal. All right.
like
Yeah.
every single Steam sale that you got. It was like $5. And the moment I'm looking at it, it's like $15. Really?
Yeah.
No.
Maybe it's good. What do you do? Just import your rhythm and mayhem into it and dance around and go smash?
Yeah, there are a
Precisely.
bunch of different
But-
cars, and each car has a different game attached to it. But it's all basically trying to match colored blocks together based on a procedurally generated track, based on an MP3 track that you feed it. I like the first one well enough, to be perfectly honest. I put enough time into it. What I like doing is going with like really obscure songs that no one would try in this. And for a couple of years after the game had come out, periodically I'd get an email. Such and such just beat your high score on this song. And I'm like, wow, such and such actually realized this song exists.
Nice.
Yeah, there was actually a problem with the first one, which is people would change their ID3 tags on their MP3s to make a certain song look like another song.
So like people
And-
thought you were racing to like Slayer, but you were really jamming out to Enya.
Precisely. And you basically got to cheat at that point because you would get scores that were literally impossible to get if you had the actual song. And I'm thinking to myself, will Audio Surf 2 have the same problem?
I don't think people will care enough, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, pick it up while it's on sale, like for $5
It's
maybe.
15% off. It costs like 12
I'd wait
now?
for maybe 50,
Right.
75.
Or a humble
Yeah.
bundle. Who knows?
Yeah,
Okay, martial law. Let's
Ghost-
declare this.
Ghost Dog.
Ghost,
Yeah.
man. Whoa, jeez.
Yeah, I was really disappointed when I found out that this had nothing to do with the Cynthia Rock David Carradine movie.
This is the thing. I found this just, you wake up and you sort by release date. And I was like, wow, what is it? You never heard of it. Well, it's very original. It's a community-driven, which means completely fucking unfinished, game set with a crumbling world where you're faced with tough choices. Blah, 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 blah. Head-to-head match modes.
So it's literally the Unity ghetto with zombie survival, first-person shooter, and crafting
zombies.
elements.
One thing this guy really goes into, like, depth, he's like, man, don't buy this game. Oh, it's your fault if you buy it. But then again, he has the balls
This
to.
is not. It says in big block letters, this is not a complete game.
But he wants $14.99. And one thing I was looking through, let me see if I can actually find this particular screen right here. This little dino. I was like, where have I seen that before?
The dude in Dink?
No? The dude in Dink? No, not the food and drink. The Mandy's or whatever it is over here on the right.
Anyways.
That's because this is basically Ghost Town Megapack version 1 with some Unity trees thrown in. And, you know, you see your stock Unity, zombie, survival.
Hungry bar, yeah.
And I think Total Sterling played it, or one of those YouTubers, and it was surprisingly competent. But what you see when somebody has like no cohesive art style whatsoever, it's just like this jarring shit thrown around a map. Slap $14.99 on it, say it's early access, and it's completely unfinished, so it's your fault if you
he doesn't even call it a game, he calls it a framework. Right. Because it's basically I have this outline of a game I want to make, but I have no idea what I actually want to do with it, so I'm going to charge money for it, and people will tell me what I want to do. Maybe not a bad model, but I mean, this kind of shit is a dime a dozen on Steam.
But I was feeling bad there for a moment because, you know, in the past couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of, you know, people just dumping asset packs and going, all right, we'll make this a game. And I was like, but where's the Linux love, bro? How come we don't get it? I mean, I want these.
Yeah,
clicking export is
they
hard,
don't
man.
realize. Chances are they don't realize that Unity allows people to export to Linux as well as Mac and Windows. So they're literally missing out on money from the stupid Linux users because they don't realize it.
All right.
Anyways, up next is Shit Smeared on the Wall Simulator. So this is Cave Painting Simulator. I really do like the term procedural death labyrinth because I find it does capture what a roguelike actually is. But this is a procedurally generated side-scrolling beat-em-up where you are a cave painting and you go through the adventures and kill stuff and try and survive. Now, if you're watching this in video, you'll see a very, very clear problem with the gameplay. And that is, your character is red, as is the background, though sometimes it is brown, and everything else is that same shade of red or brown. And it's really hard to tell what the hell is actually going on. And
hey, man, you know, having a cave painting simulator is actually one way to justify shitty graphics in 2015.
It is, but I mean, they could have like saved time and just named it like "fuck the colorblind." I mean,
yep,
yeah. I mean, I'm all for interesting art styles, and this certainly has it. The problem is when you're trying to make it a game, you have to be able to see what the hell you're actually doing. And this is where this game fails horribly. But you don't even need an operating system or a video card.
No, but you do need 666 megabytes of available space. Yeah.
And you need a stick of RAM, and you can just you can put one on top of the other, and just put it in a circle and say game play, and then take a shit on the wall, and you get the same experience.
It's 9.99, currently 10% off, man.
I wouldn't even buy that. Yeah, no.
You wouldn't buy that for $1.
No. Here's something you may want to buy, mostly because it's like $2 right now.
No, what you're going to say is everyone got done watching this damn 30-minute amaze bowls and had their brain meats melted, then saw this on Steam and just bought it out of a reflex reaction.
Yeah, that was very good marketing right there. It's like 30-minute movie, $2 game. Yeah, probably people are just going to buy it. But this is,
stunning
for all
effects
intents and purposes, it's a quote-unquote fight-em-up for Linux. And if you have watched Total Biscuit or any other Let's Player on YouTube, chances are you know what One Finger Death Punch is. And this is literally what this is.
Until everything is dead. Woohoo!
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You can't exactly mash the buttons. You have to be very, well, not very precise, but you have to time it kind of right. Otherwise, you'll miss the hit and you'll get your ass handed to you. It's competent in what it does, but it's not exactly easy.
No,
So
it's
keep that
definitely
in
not
mind.
easy. I mean, if you
No.
go over to Shut Static on the site,
Yeah.
Strider had a score, then like Empty has this
Empty
other
has a score.
amazeballs
And
fucking
that's
score.
it. But
And I suck at this game out. After seeing that,
yeah.
I was like, nope. I'm not even on like the top 12 list up there. I was like, no.
no, it's like, oh, I finally broke 1,000. Oh. Mm.
But
But,
yeah, it is. You literally, like Jordan said, you just hit either left or right in order to hit the enemy in whichever direction it's coming. But
there
you have
is
to time it
there
kind of
is an interesting thing with the shiny and sounds with this though. Ben, you I think you brought it up in the chat room static, where they actually did Hipster Pixel correctly because
I
it's,
don't think it was me, but it's definitely something they might have been Empty who put it, or could have been Free
yeah,
Jack, but they put the
Or
filter
Empty
on
or
there,
Free
like
Jack,
the
yeah.
CRT
Yeah.
filter, to where it is Hipster Pixel, but it looks like it should. And I
It-
mean, for
it looks like an arcade screen.
seriously,
That's-
I mean,
that's
at the end of the day, for £2, I wasn't expecting much, and it delivered that. This could be a very fun, let's get sauced and sit back and party game type
Back
thing.
left and right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
'Cause-
While listening to David Hasselhoff, because that's the only way you can play this game. Up
If
next,
you're gonna make it like a true survivor.
more of Pedro's terrible, terrible singing, and also AMD will block you for Pedro's terrible.
Boys and girls, welcome to the good old Linuxy news. And usually we start the news segment with some drivers or something. This week, we're not exactly talking about drivers. We're talking about Roy Taylor. I think that's his
What?
last name. Roy
AMD
Taylor,
Roy.
who is the VP something at AMD, and he says we are working, to capture. We are working drivers, to capture all your feedback, please post here.
And,
If
and,
that doesn't
and then
make
the rest
any
of the
sense
Twitter
to
thread
you-
was like butts, like literal pictures of butts.
If that doesn't make any sense to you, well, join the club, because it didn't make sense to anyone who actually knows English, and I'm pretty drunk right now, and that still doesn't make sense to me, so what the fuck? But yeah, he's talking
you need to
about
drink more.
the new driver quote-unquote feedback forum that AMD have set up for people to post all about their problems and everything else. Now, you may remember a couple of weeks ago, or about a month ago actually, when one of our Chatrel members, Orn, got blocked by Roy at AMD because he said that the NVIDIA 660 was outperforming the R9 290X on Linux, and AMD needed to get their shit together because their drivers suck, and he got blocked. So yeah, if you go there... and you
Wasn't that
actually-
because he provided a Phoronix link as evidence, though?
Yeah, I actually told him something along those lines, like, yeah, if you were telling me that my performance sucked and provided a Phoronix link as evidence, I'd be pretty upset with you too. But yeah, if you go there...
Still, you have to realize that... continue.
No, it's just the forums that they have set up is for you to provide feedback. Just keep in mind that you don't see a hell of a lot of Linux threads on there, and there's probably a reason for that. They might be obscuring those or just outright blocking people on Twitter like Roy likes to do.
I don't know.
Still,
I've
you-
definitely always said that you just screwed. If you have an AMD card, an ATI, formerly ATI, and you want to run Linux, you're going to have a bad time. And there are very few people out there that are like, no, it's perfectly fine. And I'm like, why do you lie? It's not.
For games like FTL, sure. But what these guys are doing is the Twitter equivalent of sticking their fingers in there is going, la 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 la, I'm not listening, la 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 la. And do these people actually pay attention? They set up a community forum for driver feedback, but do they actually like do a Google search for Radeon driver feedback? And they'll see everyone saying, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks. It's almost as if they're not expecting all this negative feedback for their shitty fucking drivers.
And it's not just on Linux. comparatively, between the NVIDIA and the AMD drivers on Windows, the AMD drivers suck.
All right, let's move on to something we can all like.
Oh yeah. So this is interesting. So there's this company called Total Recall Technologies, and apparently they met with Palmer Luckey, the head of Oculus, sometime in 2011 to build a prototype for a head-mounted device with ultra-wide field view with low latency, whatnot. If that sounds a little familiar, it might remind you of something called the Oculus Rift.
Never heard of it. What is it?
Yeah, so these guys, Total Recall Technologies, are suing. They're suing Palmer, and they're saying, "Hey, we paid you to build us a prototype. You signed a non-disclosure agreement, and then 1 year later, you turn around and you start Oculus, and you start producing essentially what we asked you to build." Now, people in the comments in this brought up an interesting point. There wasn't necessarily a non-compete clause brought up, but if he created it, or if he signed a non-disclosure agreement for the technology that he helped produce for Total Recall Technologies, and then turned around and used that knowledge, that's very illegal.
That's something I'm definitely thinking about. I mean, the timing of this, because why are you still talking about Oculus? Because they said, you're the Linux. It's not completely dead, but there's a bit of yes, good. A bit of payback coming back from this, but they're not patent trolls. J-Man clearly pointed that out earlier when we were talking.
Yeah.
They probably have this guy dead to rights because they're just lining up to collect all his money. And it really does sound like, okay, we're going to give you all this money and the research, and you're going to do it and come up with a product, then to take all your notes and run over and like, I'm making another one, but this is for gaming. See, it's different. I don't know,
but
man.
It is a publicity stunt. At this time, with Oculus expected, or Facebook in this case, expected to give like this big announcement on June 11th, that they said, it is a publicity stunt. They're looking for money at this point. Nothing else.
Yeah, well, that's true, but I guess we'll leave that to the courts, or more likely Facebook's lawyers, to come to a conclusion regarding that.
They're probably just going to get some hush money for this business, but let's talk about something a little finer. That's right, Double Fine. We've regained the rights to Iron Brigade and fixed Steam matchmaking. Now you're wondering, kind of like me, I was like, we have all the recent Double Fine games on Linux, except for that one. It was kind of like the Mech Tower Defense one that looked really interesting. Why didn't we ever have that? Because Microsoft, actually. Microsoft held the rights to this. And, say what you want about Double Fine and all that. They've always been incredibly amazing with the Linux support.
No, they've ported their back catalog.
Right.
Yep.
Do you think we're going to be getting a copy of Speculation? Come on.
Oh, yeah. The reason you actually mentioned it in the notes, the reason we didn't get it for Linux at first was because of Games for Windows Live. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that piece of bullshit DRM. But now they're done with it, and they've regained the rights to it, so it's Double Fine. Budget and time management issues aside, they've been good when it comes to Linux, and yeah, we will probably get it in time.
They're probably going to put it in some Humble Bundle. That's usually how they play their game. Yeah. Historically, they'll say, oh yeah, there's a new Humble Bundle out, and there's a new Double Fine game on all the available Humble platforms, blah, blah, blah. So if they are going to come out with a Linux port, it would probably be in line with one of the Humble Indie Bundles, or possibly a Humble Double Fine bundle.
Definitely something like that, because you got to think they've pretty much worked their tool chain out to where they can spit out a Linux port pretty quick nowadays. So
fairly well performing too. There's always some herky jerk, but
what is this business though? GPL version 2 plus?
Yes. So Dolphin was originally released under the GPL v2. Mm-hmm. And these guys have decided that they actually want to go about that actually does make developing for Dolphin a bit difficult, because you have to ensure that anything you link to it can be open source, or else you're going to run into a whole whack of legal mess. And because Dolphin is an emulator of a proprietary piece of hardware, GPL v2 may not be the best license, so they're undertaking this effort to move to GTK. Never. GTL or GPL version 2 plus and GPL 3. And one of the big challenges they've run into is the fact that they have to get approval from everyone who's committed code to say, hey, can we relicense your code? And they give some statistics about 0.5% people refused, so they rewrote that code. And the big issue was that about 5% of the contributors could not be contacted. Though someone did mention that as long as they have about 95, they should be good, unless someone really wants to make a big stink about it. But if and these guys have showed they put in the good faith effort to try and contact these people, and if they can't, then
it was actually the guy from PPSSPP, which is personally one of my favorite emulators of all time. Good job on that one. But yeah, the guy from PPSSPP actually had to make the migration from GPL2 to GPL3, or was it GPL2 plus? No, it was actually GPL3 that he made the migration to, and he couldn't not get in contact with every single developer that had contributed code to PPSSPP. So yeah, he got like 95%, and he managed to do it successfully. So Dolphin's actually...
It's certainly an interesting read, especially if you are thinking about moving your project from one license to another, because there's always a lot of hurdles you need to jump through with open source and multiple people contributing and whatnot. But again, the Dolphin guys do good work. I'm glad that they publish these transparency reports because it gives some insight into what they're actually doing.
Brilliant.
Yes.
All right, Swervin' Mervin. What is it? It's truly a radical homage to 16-bit racing games. So I was kind of actually let down because every time I had a Git repo, and now we're getting old and everything's pre-packaged, I was like, yay, I'm going to clone the Git and I'm going to build something. I haven't built something in like a month. No, we don't have to build this one, unfortunately. But, yeah, just take a look at it, see what it is. It hits real. I mean, it could actually have a little main cabinet. I mean, it's, what was it called? Outrun. Kind of inspired like that, but you can actually
looking at the logo, it looks a little bit like Hotline Miami.
Yeah, but Hotline Miami looked a little bit like...
Oh my god, you can play as Richard Stallman in this?
Really? I must have missed that. No?
No, it's
There
it is.
It's Stallman.
But in the video, you can you get extra points if you smack into people, which I was like, oh, well, that's kind of neat. And it's something to fuck around with for a few minutes. It's open source. It's free. So if you want to get some of that nostalgia sauce back, give it a shot. I mean, it's going to be in our show notes like everything else. J-Man, did you give it a go?
Yeah, no. So it's Pygame, so you don't even need to compile it. You just run the Python script .play.
Not having to build it for once is actually kind of nice.
The controls aren't that great, I found. But otherwise, I said 8-bit racer in the show notes, but it's actually apparently a 16-bit racer. It seems a bit generic. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of fun to run into people, but not really my deal.
Yeah, Ven actually mentioned Outrun before, and I love Outrun back in the old Neo Geo days, and this one, it needs some work if it's ever going to live up to that, because it is very clearly trying to live up to that.
Well, that's pretty cool. Check it out. But I think that's going to wrap up on news, isn't it? Yeah?
It will. Up next, we craft spells and flick our mouses across the stream. Scream. I don't even know anymore. This game is so bad, it's caused my ability to communicate
to fail. It's a stream of electrons.
Something like that. Spellcrafter, review, next! And, like so many heretics, Spellcrafter faces the CHAIRQUISITION. It's a Unity mobile port by Jujubee S.A. It retails for $9.99 currency, depending on what your currency is. And it is a RPG game with a deep tactile... No, it's not. We will get into it much later, but it is not a deep turn-based tactical RPG. It is something else entirely. But let's just kick off the CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. And 4 chairs will only show up in Mixed with the Working because it just
Nor
does
does
that.
it have a unique.
But speaking of Mixed with the
spellcasting
Working, here's the category so doom: Mixed with the Working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So let's kick off this review of this shitty fucking game. Ben, did it make with the working?
From the creators of such memorable titles as Flesh something. I don't remember. It was that stupid racing game that never worked. Flesh Out.
Oh, Flesh Out.
Flesh Out. Right.
Flesh Out.
Anyway, so being Unity, it does manage to run on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS 980 4K display box of business. And that's about the only good thing I have to say about this, that it didn't immediately crash. Now, I could technically ding it a chair in this category for a reason, but I'm not, because I'm saving it to curb check this damn game in another one. So, I'm going to give it 4 chairs for Mixed with the Working.
Yes, the game certainly does start up and run at some moon resolution. I don't know what it is, because there's no way to configure this game whatsoever, much like Flat Out or Flesh Out and Secret of the Magic Crystals. Parties! But yeah, no, it runs. Like I said, I like Ven said, anyways. You could ding it a chair for not having any options, but it's a mobile port. You can really only expect so much 4 chairs.
Yeah, on Corora 21 with the FX 8370E overclocked to 4 GHz and the GTX 970 Strix. It ran alright, I suppose. Like Ven, I too could ding it a chair for the really, really shitty FPS it gets in some places, but I'm not going to because I too am saving that for later on, so 4 chairs.
4 chairs for Mixed with the Working, and this is the only time you'll see a chair count greater than 3. Up next is Shiny and Sounds, Ben.
Man, let's talk about some... You don't expect a lot from a mobile game, but then again, sometimes you get a mobile port like that arcadey shooter we played a couple of weeks back.
Oh, yeah.
That was all right. But, even going into this with very low expectations, they were met in spades. Seriously, the animation rigging is beyond laughably bad, because sometimes you'll see it, it'll screw up, with some games, and you're thinking, that's kind of funny. This is just like, really? You didn't even try, did you, Brad? I mean, there's not even a turning animation. This is something I haven't seen in 15 years, is when a character turns around to walk in a different direction, they just rotate the entire model, and it walks off. It's like, really? It has sounds, I assume. Didn't really pay those too much attention. It's not visually horrible to look at, but I can imagine that you could pass this off a lot better on, say, like a 4-inch screen than you could on a 28-inch 4K display. That kind of brings out some of the laziness, especially like your initial skeleton models. They don't even try. The entire torso is just one block with some really bad skeleton paint over it. And why am I playing this? Why is it so horrible? It caused me pain. I'm going to give it 1 chair just because it's that bad. That's almost a spite chair. I'm going to say, but it does have sounds and it kind of has shiny, but not enough to make you like stop building the log cabin. I was ordering lumber while playing this damn thing.
Yeah, holy Unity game, Batman. This thing just screams Unity Store assets. Because I don't even know how to describe it, but when you look at this game, it just says Unity. I mean, like Ven said, you could probably get away with it more if it was like a 720p 4 to 7-inch screen, but at a 28-inch at 4K, the visuals do not hold up. There is audio. I kind of ignored it when I wasn't suffering from pulse audio underruns, because I actually haven't run into that problem since upgrading to Fedora 21. This game brought it back in spades. My lord. Yeah, I don't know. It just looks really, really cheap, and viewing it at 4K makes it look a lot cheaper. I'll give it 2 chairs because they work, but they're not very good. One chair would mean that I'm just looking at garbled mess, it's just a step above that.
Yeah, much like Jordan, I can't really give it 1 chair. The character models do look like they're straight out of a 2002 considerably better game. The sounds got immediately nope the moment they started blaring that royalty-free music in my ears. And you see, with the chairs, one chair, for me, it wouldn't mean that you can't see anything that's on screen or the sounds don't work. But that's not the case.
Well, what if you're almost at the point of wanting to carve out your eyes, and so you save yourself?
Yeah, maybe, but the sounds do sound, and the graphics do graph. But
they graph all right. They graph hard.
I can't really give it one chair, so 2 chairs.
Well, it gets 1 chair anyways, because how averages work. So there's that. Up next is Control. Then I heard you like drawing things on a 4K monitor.
This thing is so brilliantly busted on so many levels. So let's talk about controls. All right. So you notice that you can rotate the camera around somewhat. And you're like, oh, that's neat. Then you get into a battle. Then it's like, fuck camera rotation. Even though it gives you directional ways to attack people, which are completely covered up by the actual baddies, there's no way around that. And I was like, click, click, move. Then it just flipped the hell out and, like, camera locked my cursor, which is important to flail about and try to draw things. And I had to restart. That fucked up. How do I want to say this? The negatives. This is the way we need to address this, of porting your mobile app to PC. I mean, you're going to see some issues with the controls being on the corner of a 28-inch 4K display. That's a lot of travel to go with that gerbil. Like, I'm going to click up here, my spellbook's way up here. Makes sense on mobile. But these guys aren't changing anything. Export that shit, charge, 3 times the normal price for it, and get it on Steam. That's all they care about. And, it's just dragging that cursor across. I hated that. I mean, the controls worked. Technically, they worked. But your first and your primary mechanic is casting your spells, thus the name. And the first time it's often like, you must draw this symbol. And it's an arrow pointing at fuck and all. It's like, right. And what symbol? Maybe a circle. Then I tried to draw the arrow. I was so desperate. Maybe the arrow is the symbol. Flailing around and reverse engineering my flailing, I figured out I needed to draw a circle with a line through it. I was like, okay, London Underground, all the fucking things, man. And that worked, but yeah, the camera thing being busted and being incredibly difficult because you have hit points. You got to take somebody, if they got a 2, you got to work them down twice. And when they're clamored up together, you can't tell who needs what. And I found that completely annoying. Not completely busted controls, but not enough controls to make it interesting and or playable.
Oh yeah, the camera on the overworld has a mind of its own, because you basically do the Torchlight Diablo Dota click around and you move to where your mouse is. Excuse me. And it gets really annoying, because if you go to near the top corners of the screen, it starts rotating your camera around. It's like, no, I want you to stay here. But you need to go to this part on the map, and it won't move. The map doesn't move along with you. So again, your camera just moves around and around and around and around. Yeah, I didn't have the same issue that Ben and I think Pedro did, where it doesn't actually show you the gestures you need to make to cast spells. I found that, like, it showed up. I was just too impatient, and I ignored it the first couple times. Then my roommate pointed out, oh, you're supposed to, like, wait and draw the symbol. Wait, so there's a countdown. I have to wait for this animation to play out before I can actually draw the symbol. While the countdown is still running. Good, excellent.
In 2015.
In 2015, yeah. And again, like Ben said, when you there are challenges when you port your mobile game to PC. Design considerations that you would have to make on a touchscreen don't necessarily apply to when you have a keyboard and a mouse with lots and lots of physical buttons that you can press and assign tasks to, but that is beyond these guys. And yeah, beyond that, the controls are just clicking, and I'll get into the actual combat system, the meat of it in the fun section. But the control-wise, it works. It's 2 chairs.
Oh, look, it's someone else who brought their failing Android game to PC and didn't even bother to rework the controls or the UI. Gesundheit, Jordan. And if you, as a developer, don't put an effort in, to porting your game or whatever, I, as an asshole, will shit all over your game. One chair, because these controls are fucking horrible when it comes to PC. You see, if you have a tablet, you can just click, you can tap on whatever you want. If you have a mouse that you have to drag all the way across the fucking screen, it's not going to work so well. Fuck these.
Especially at 4K. Especially at 4K. So that's one chair for controls. And finally, fun. Then, did you have fun?
No.
All right, moving on.
One chair.
We'll get to that. I wanted it to not be so bad. Full disclosure, they give us the keys, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm just getting that out of the way. Just in case you think we're liking the game because they gave us the keys. We don't want any confusions. Don't want to be accused of that, now do we? This is like the most generic turn-based kind of strategy. I couldn't really see the strategy in it because you could basically just always win. The fun really died for me like right at the beginning because I go over and I kill the ghost. Then I'm trying to get through this one area and she's like, no explanation as to what you need to do. It's like, you need more people. There's something. And I was like, fuck, I'm stuck here. Then I finally went over and spent all my coins that I'd collected. Then it let me through. I was like, man, they really... Somewhere in the planning process, they were like, yeah, let's make this freemium, and that got overridden. But that really annoyed me. And again, it's hard to have fun when you can't move the camera and see what you're actually supposed to attack with your movements and all that. It is just busted on so many delightful levels to the point where it's not even entertaining like Bad Rats entertaining. This is just bad. No rats involved. So, yeah, J-Man's right, one chair.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of the first Magic the Gathering video game that came out on like the PlayStation 2, Xbox, where it was basically this. You summoned your creatures and instead of actually playing the card game, you just had them fight it out. I hated that
Magic
game.
the Gathering Battlegrounds.
That's the one. Thank you. This game is fucking terrible, though. The whole gameplay mechanic is you have like the spellcaster role, and then you have the various units that you can move around and attack. Mm-hmm. And you can basically lose all your units as long as you still stay alive at the end. You're fine. So what I did was I gathered all my money from the first levels, and I bought crossbowmen, all the crossbowmen. I had about 8 in total because they're the best. Because they kill all the shit before they even get to your side of the field. And then I went to the next level. Lo and behold, I'm back down to 2 crossbowmen. Why? Because fuck you. Did I get any of the money back? No. Yeah, and I mean, mechanically, the game could have been all right. I can see this being okay on a mobile app, sort of a Mega Man Battle Network thing. But everything else, just the mediocre gameplay aside, all the other negatives just drag this game down into a pit of just terrible horribleness that is not worth $10. One share.
Yeah, a couple of minutes ago, Orn and Linux Nuru were debating on Chat Realm that this game was similar to the first Harry Potter games, where you actually had to draw the spell symbols.
Not Leviosa.
Yeah, you had to draw the spell symbols on screen with the mouse, but at least the Harry Potter games were competent. And I remember another game from way back in the 90s. It was called Silver, where you actually had to fight by swinging the mouse around the same way you wanted to swing your character's sword around. And that was genius. At the time, it was awesome. But this game, on the other hand, it looks like Dungeon Siege on the PSP, and it plays like Final Fantasy Tactics on a tablet. Unfortunately for them, this is a PC game. To say that the controls, unresponsive as they are, and the camera, floaty as fuck as it is, kill whatever immersion the game ever hoped to have, is like probably the understatement of the century. Fuck this game. Fuck these quote-unquote developers. Fuck this shit. One chair.
All right, so that's 1 chair for fun, and if we tally all this nonsense up, we get 1 chair for Spellcrafters. I don't really think there's much room for final thoughts, other than this game is caca-poo-poo, and you should not buy it. Are we in agreement?
Yeah, hold.
Yep.
All right. So, before we kick on over to the hate mail section, we should let you know that we have a Patreon. Oh my god, it is this awesome
Patreon?
fucking service that lets you donate 5 cents a show, whatever you deign to give us per show. It's great. You can sign up. We have Chris Fisher, we have Matt Hartley, the Atomic Ass, bunch of cool people. The Pod Nuts.
She's in Shot Realm.
Jill's in Shot Realm. Strider, the guy who creates Lutris, he's backing us. Yeah, but if you appreciate the show, we would it would be great if you could give us like 5 cents, because every little bit helps. It helps us pay for games, it helps us pay for bandwidth and server hosting, and it helps us focus more on this and give you more content, which I assume you guys all want. So you can check that out, patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. We love our Patreons. Even if you don't have any money to give us, spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your dog. Just go out in the middle of the street at 3 o'clock in the morning with a megaphone and say, "Watch Linux Gamecast! It's streaming right now!" And when the cops show up to inevitably drag you to jail, you should tell them to watch it as well.
Yes.
Seems legit.
Up next, we get to understand why Pedro hates Java.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you were not here for the live show, you should have been, because we, believe it or not, we were discussing wrench dressing. Yeah. See, this is the hate mail. This is my favorite segment of the show. Why? Because whenever someone sends a little bit of quote-unquote hate mail our way, and
you coded in wrench dressing?
Not exactly, but they ask a question relating to our tastes. So, sort of related? I like to, go off on them. But if you'd like to get in touch with us, go on over to linuxgamecast.com, push the contact button, and fill out the form. Just, keep in mind if you're trying to promote your game, your Indiegogo, your early access, your green light campaign, anything, just make sure to send us something that we can play with. We love NDAs. Hell, we've all, at least the 3 of us here in the show, we've been under multiple NDAs at one time. So
Pedro, what you got to understand, man, is see my Kickstarter. You need to make an exception for me.
No, not going to happen. In fact, if you have a Kickstarter and you try to, send us an email and get us to talk about your Kickstarter without providing a demo, we're probably going to make fun of you in a way you're not going to be very appreciative of.
But Pedro, I have a game on Greenlight that you have to vote for without even playing it.
Yeah, no. And hey, if you have a game on Greenlight and you're giving out free keys to random people on the internet just so you can get upvotes, you might as well give us, us some keys. Just saying.
Let's get to the hate mail. Jeremy Quest writes, Pyra. You don't know what Pyra? That's the spiritual successor to the
Open Pandora.
Yeah, that thing.
Yes.
And we were talking about this a couple of weeks back. Then, he actually mentioned the Pyro. Looked at it and we're like, yeah, you know what, Brad? That seems a little overpriced, and everybody just uses their mobiles nowadays. But he says, well, yeah, that wasn't really trying to say it was a worthy investment, because the Pyro's going to expand, is using some outdated chips that are no longer being made. It's just the entire community of Open Pandora users and developers are preparing to move to the Pyro. So it's kind of weirded me out that a project like porting Half-Life on the Pandora remained on the Pandora. In fact, when you go to the forums of the GGS Dingaroo and the Pandora, users and devs for those platforms pretty much is ready themselves to go over the Pyra. So it just weirded me out a bit. If anybody wants to win the Pepsi Challenge, can you decode that?
Yeah, it makes my English look competent.
Was it this looks like the Voyage manuscript. Jeez. That's a joke for you guys. So, I mean, yeah, Open Pandora is a thing. I guess, yeah, it is a little weird that they don't target the newer hardware, but, I mean, really, who cares? The people who use the Pandora are exclusively limited to the Pandora community, so, yeah.
Yeah, and when you have a tablet like this one, You see that? It reads shield. Yeah, you don't really need an open Pandora
Not Coulson, no!
when you have this thing lying around. Kind of awesome.
Just remember,
But
Pedro hates open source projects, so send your hate mail.
Then you hate me, I'll tell
So
Liam
up
at
next-
gamingonlinux.com.
we
next!
have Michael talking about Java, and he says, why the hate for Java? Java is one of the best programming languages in existence today. It also happens to be the programming language of the world's most popular mobile OS, Android. Java is slow is such an outdated concept. The virtual machine tech has improved greatly. With Java 8, it has Lambda and automatic concurrent processing for collections. Now, to preface this, I have to say I love Android. Do not misinterpret what I'm about to say. Because when he says
Got
Java...
it. Pedro is racist against androids.
Java is one of the best programming languages in existence today. Dude, at best, that's debatable. And, okay, I'll give you that. It's one of, if not the most widely used programming language in existence, yes. Windows is also one of the most widely used PC OSs. Are you saying, or would you say that Windows is one of the best operating systems by that logic? And while we're on Windows, this is actually talking about Play on Linux moving to Java, and the fact that we here at LGC did not exactly appreciate that. When you're dealing with Java on Windows, that is more often than not the way that most malware gets onto your system. And those very, very rare occasions when it's not Java, it's usually Flash. Now, imagine you're dealing with a wrapper that is designed to run Windows applications on Linux, and you're building that on Java. Would you want one of the world's most exploitable programming languages to do so? Because there are a fucking hell of a lot Java exploits for Windows apps in order to install malware on your PC. And Java, especially in the case of Play on Linux, like I said, it installs malware. It is a massive security liability. That is why I, Pedro Mateus, hate Java.
Yes, because, when we're talking about a Linux application, we talk about Java on Windows. Anyway, I have no problem with this being, Java, the reason they moved to Java, they said, is because they want to support Mac. I don't know why you'd want to do that. That seems like taking a long route to support some sort of redheaded stepchild of the gaming community. But that's the direction they want to go. They want to move from using Bash scripts for init to Python scripts, so they use Python. I don't know, man. Yeah, Michael has a good point. Java is not really slow these days when you compare it to other popular languages like Ruby and Python and JavaScript. But yeah, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass, as Free Jack, Ven, and myself had discovered yesterday. I personally work with Java on a day-to-day basis. I'm used to securing it. I've never had an issue. This is more of a Pedro deal.
No, it's not a Pedro deal.
Ben.
How many exploits are there for Windows in order to, get privilege escalation to install malware
But
on your
we're on
computer?
Linux, Pedro. We're
Yeah,
on
no. But this is Play on Linux we're talking about.
Which runs
Play
on
Linux
what? Windows?
is designed. Play on Linux is designed to run Windows applications under Linux. Are you really willing to compromise in order to install a Windows malware that actually fucks up your entire Linux system because it's running on a Java app?
That has nothing to do with the JVM, though. It really doesn't.
Actually, how do you know? There are shit tons of exploits for JVMs that are currently using Windows applications as a base. And again, you're using Play on Linux to run Windows applications under Linux.
No, you're using Java to initialize wine bottles, which then play the games under Linux. You're talking about a very specific situation in which
a very specific
some custom
one,
crafted exploit, which again,
Which
highly unlikely,
just-
can be controlled by saying, here are our
can
officially
be
supported
controlled.
repositories. If you use those, you're on your own for any malware that pops up.
Then on that bombshell, let's cue the music, because you can always find us at the end of the day. Sorry, that could have went on for another 20 fuck-mothering minutes. I'm Vin Stone on the Twitter Nats, plus Vin Stone on the G pluses.
I'm Jordan Svung, and you can find me at java.com on Twitter or plus
Hashtag Java lover.
on Plus.
And apparently, I'm biased against androids, so you can find me at unaccounted for on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google Plus.
I just don't understand. At the end of the day, take that shot. Why people hate coffee so much?
It's because they're racist.
Completely racist.
It's because the beans are brown, isn't it? I knew it!
Yep.
Just like Pedro. I think I just drew a connection there.
Again. Apparently, I'm brown, which makes Orn what? Black?
According to Orn, yes.
It makes him browner. Or maybe the brownest.
More brown.
5 dudes.